Welcome to English Myths Explained, because some of the most common rules in English and English education were invented, exaggerated, or simply wrong. Let's get into it.
Every English writing course teaches the same rule. Avoid the passive voice. Use active verbs. Make your writing direct and clear. Active voice good, passive voice bad. It is one of the most repeated rules in English education, and it is one of the most misunderstood. Today we look at what the passive voice actually does, when it is bad writing, and when it is exactly the right choice. First, exactly what we mean. Active voice. The subject performs the action. The scientist discovered the compound. Passive voice. The subject receives the action. The compound was discovered by the scientist. Or, crucially, the compound was discovered in 1987. The passive allows you to remove the agent entirely, to focus on what happened rather than who did it. That ability is not a weakness. In many contexts, it is precisely what good writing requires. Scientists use passive voice deliberately and consistently. Samples were collected and analyzed. The experiment was conducted under controlled conditions. The agent, the scientists themselves, is removed because in scientific writing, the finding matters, and the finder does not. Legal writing uses it for the same reason. The contract was signed. The decision was made. Journalism uses it when the agent is unknown or irrelevant. 3 people were injured. The building was destroyed. In each case, the passive is not evasion, it is precision. George Orwell's rule, never use the passive where you can use the active, is perhaps the most cited writing rule in the English language. It is also worth noting that Orwell's own writing is full of passive constructions, used deliberately and effectively. His rule was a general stylistic principle for clear prose, not an absolute prohibition. The important word in his formulation is where you can. There are many situations where you cannot, where the passive is the clearer, more precise, more appropriate choice. That is what his rule actually says if you read it carefully. The passive voice genuinely is bad writing in one specific situation, when it is used to avoid accountability or to obscure who did what. Mistakes were made. The decision was taken. It was felt that redundancies were necessary. These sentences use the passive to hide the agent deliberately, to make actions appear without authors. That is evasion, not precision. The problem is not the passive voice itself. The problem is using it to obscure rather than to clarify. The passive voice is a legitimate and often superior grammatical tool. Science, law, and journalism all use it deliberately. Orwell's rule says, avoid it where you can use the active, not avoid it always. The only genuinely bad passive is the one designed to hide who did what. Use the passive when the agent is unknown, irrelevant, or less important than the action. That is 15 myths down. Subscribe to Fluent Daily for more.